Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? It is Friday, July 19th, 2024. And as we, per usual, every Friday, we have our financial whisperer, Mr. Bryce Wade, in the house with us to try and dissect some good stuff out of the nonsense and the noise out there, because that's your bread and butter. So this is why we like to have Bryce coming in here. But it's a wild and crazy ride out there right now, folks. We're going to dive into some things, and everything changes in this world by the minute. So we really scrambled for 5 minutes before coming on here tonight on what we were actually going to dive into. But first, guys, make sure you double check that you are have your notification bells on wherever you're following from. It looks like we're actually going out uninterrupted on all of our platforms tonight, which has been an absolute challenge the last couple of days. And for many today, I expect, I think this day is going to go down in history. Bryce is called 404 Friday because nobody can find their banking, their computer stuff. Even the big blue dome is apparently lit up. 404 not found. Nobody's finding anything on a Microsoft device this weekend. Bryce, what do you make of all of that, given, like we were talking about just beforehand? I'm looking at everybody in the digital verse, and they're in shock and awe about what's going on. I'm going, really? Uncle Klaus predicted this in February of 2020. We talked about this.
Yeah, I actually consulted for an IT company. He was actually the guy that helped fix the Boeing planes dropping out of the sky years ago. And so he's very, very deep into IT, cybersecurity, how all of our data is kind of amalgamated and in the cloud. And I actually learned a great deal just talking to him. And one of the big things that I learned is our systems are so unbelievably vulnerable. You could drive the whole convoy through all of the security flaws in our integrated systems. And so the Microsoft thing that went down are the axis of evil, as they'll probably eventually be known when World War III actually starts, which is China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. They didn't have any problems because they weren't on these systems. And I think the big takeaway from this kind of event is this should be another very big and very visceral reminder of how susceptible and how fragile our economy is. Because if one company, can go down and cause this level of destruction, what happens if it's an actual intentional hack? This was like the story that they're going with, which I don't believe, just to be clear, is that we updated Microsoft and everything just got destroyed. Like, that's literally impossible. Like, the way that you're supposed to do development is you have a test server or a test environment, and then you deploy it after you test it to the live environment. Usually you have three, actually, but the test one is the important one. So you test everything to make sure it works first, right? And the fact that this is even possible tells you and shows you in a very visceral way how fragile and susceptible we are to an actual warfare in this type of way. Because the thing that I think most people don't realize is that World War III is going to be completely different than World War II. Drones, cyber hacking, biological warfare, asymmetric warfare, social contagions, like innumerable types of things that were not even a thought in somebody's mind in World War II are now rolled out at scale, right? And so the things that you have to think about when you're protecting yourself is, what do I need to do to make sure that if everything fails, I'm still okay?
Well, so much to touch on there. And guys, tonight we didn't come into this with a game plan, but at the end of the day, we're going to be pulling from all kinds of little threads of news that are going on worldwide that are all having an impact on what we need to do financially to be prepared for some of this. And so I was on a Twitter space this afternoon with an international community, and it was they got hit by the same thing as everybody else did here. I see a comment here: Starbucks was down in the U.S. The airlines, they were shut down a good portion of the day. Banks, businesses, forced to use cash. This should be a good thing. In this is, like the shot over the bow, the warning of all warnings, the mother of all warnings, as Joe Galloway would say. I mean, how many clues do we need? They're with Trudeau canceling bank accounts, seizing people for $5 donations, the offering of a universal basic income, CBDC, all of these things. If people haven't got it figured out yet that they are about or on the verge of losing everything that's connected to the banking financial industry, that is worldwide. This is something that's going to impact not just us Canadians, but everywhere. It was interesting to see people from Norway, the UK, Ireland speaking today about the same impacts there, and what they're looking at doing is, how they're dealing with it as communities and as independent people outside of the system is so much a parallel conversation to what we've been doing here. Like you tell us every week, first get your groceries, get your beans and rice. I've seen people panic shopping this week, but for different reasons. I'm seeing them panic shopping because of the buzzard bug and the narrative coming with that. Not panic shopping, get prepared shopping, and then getting their money out of the banks and turning it into something tangible, which is what we've been, preaching from the mountaintops for a very, very long time here. That same conversation is going out across the entire spectrum of the democratic free world right now.
Yeah, and the thing that I think to put a bow on that with is you don't want to be last, you want to be first. If there's any event that's coming down the pipeline that you have any inclination about, you have to think about, hey, how am I going to? Hey, my pleasure. You have to think about how am I going to mitigate that risk and ensure that if that does happen, or if anything near that happens, I'm going to be okay. Because what everybody needs to realize that watches this is that at some point, all of the normies that have no idea, no preparation, and no idea how anything works in the world are going to be like, oh my God, I got to do something. And then when that panic buying starts, it's
Yep.
over. It's literally over. Because if you, and I've used this example before, if you remember back to 2021 when toilet paper happened, all it takes is for somebody to have the inclination, just the idea that I'm not going to be able to get food. And I talked to somebody literally yesterday, bro, that was like, I just asked him, like, hey, how prepared are you if you couldn't go to the store and buy food? How long could you and your family survive? And he has a newborn, and he's like, oh, probably a couple days. I'm like, bro, like
Wow.
a couple days, and if you couldn't go to the store, you die in like a week. That's insane, man. And like, I really think that, especially with this week, I know we're not going to talk too much about Trump this week, but the mere fact that happened and how close we were to utter chaos around the world, because there would be a knock-on effect if that actually happened. And like, I'm not going to get into it too deep, but everybody has to realize this, right? Our system and our society is so fragile. One bullet, a couple millimeters to the right, would have completely destroyed the American dollar. And here's why: is because the reason that the US dollar is what it is, and it's a reserve currency, is not only because of its military power and all of the economic reasons, but it's everybody's belief that there's a rule of law that affects their ability to get their money back and out and trade it, right? Currency is only valuable if we both agree that it's an intermediary for resources, right? And if that idea leaves for any reason at any time, the US dollar is done. And that event would trigger that to some degree, because everybody would know that whatever retards are in there now, they're staying in there.
Well, I'm going to review back a little bit to some things that we know within our regular community here, because we've kind of covered a lot of this over the last few years. But we know that the cabal, whatever you want to call them, the deep state, is becoming more and more desperate by the day. We're seeing events; nothing anymore goes unpredicted. I up until this event on Saturday, I had basically been saying the only thing Trump has to do is stay alive, and because
And he
it was
almost
this
didn't.
predictable, right? But there are people that are getting busted on hedging their bets on him actually having been disappeared. So what this has done, and this is where there's all kinds of discussion about who done it. I'm going to leave that to the cops and the experts in the military and the guys that live all that. I want to look at from this channel's perspective always is when there's a big event that has captured the entire world's attention, that means there's other stuff going on elsewhere. And to me, this, I was looking across the spectrum around the world, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but there always needs to be that big play, that big red flag event. In a discussion last night, I was asked if I expected a cabinet shuffle this weekend, maybe, and I said if there's going to be, it's going to be on Friday under the distraction of a big event. Well, what do I get up to this morning? Exactly 4:04 across the world, and Trudeau sliding in a cabinet shuffle in there. But to me, the big event is exactly this, and particularly because some of the players behind this collapse. You mentioned the narrative that they're running with, which is absolutely impossible to buy, given the players in this game that are public knowledge. This is the event why nobody ever got the Epstein list, because of Jeffrey Epstein's connection to Bill Gates and all of those psychos, and Ghislaine Maxwell and her father, Robert Maxwell, who infected every intelligence agency in the world with the Pegasus program. So every agency has been compromised, and these guys are just this desperate now to try to cover their own tracks through the world, and try to regain whatever they can, simply because of the failed attempt on Mr. Trump and some of the things that he is stating. And we got to remember, and I forgive me for for not being able to attribute this quote correctly, but politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex, and they are no longer entertained. The military-industrial complex, they're about to have all of their income streams, their money laundering, their pilfering, their wealth extraction severed. So whether you like Trump or not, that automatically puts him in a category of against some massive things, to me, the same level as JFK Jr.
Yeah, and if you could bring up this for a second, I think this perfectly encapsulates what this is. All tyrannies rule through fraud and force. But once the fraud is exposed, they must rely exclusively on force. And what I think you're seeing, especially this week, because the absolute moronic lies that these morons are telling people, are everybody's like, that's clearly not true, bro. And we're not going to get into it with all the dozens of examples, right? But the thing that I think is really important with what's happening right now is that because of the internet, and we wouldn't know a lot of what we do without Twitter right now, right? And the ability of the internet to transfer knowledge from one person to another, we've never had that in history. And the difference is because we've had communication for a long time, right? We had, so first it was voice, right? Then we could write stuff down. Then we could send stuff on horses. Then we had steamships and shit. Then we had radio. Then we had TV. Now we have the internet. And the big change from the internet before, that's different from everything else, is it's not just one to many, it's many to many and all to all. I can say something and the entire planet can know about that instantly if there's enough eyeballs on it. And their ability to control what we know is still there because they have Google controlling and shit like that. But their ability to do that in real time has really decreased. And because there's so many more people aware, their real fear is that something is going to happen and we're going to be like, these fucking idiots that's it. I'm tired of being lied to. I'm tired of these idiots lying to me. I'm tired of these people destroying my family and my future and my money and everything that I care about. That's it. And that's and that I think is why they tried to assassinate Trump the other day, is because they're like, this guy's getting too big. We've tried everything that we could. That's it, right? And they made that decision. And what I think the most important thing for everybody to realize is if there's somebody that's coming to try and kill you, you have two options and two options only. You either submit and die or fight and try and win. There is no other choice when somebody is trying to kill you. And what they have proven this week, among all of the other examples before that, is that they will stop at anything and anyone to achieve what they want to do. And all of the policies that have been implemented in Canada, the West, for like the last 10 years, basically, all have the goal of more control and less freedom for you. So that sounds like a war to me.
Well, when their attempts at manifesting World War III elsewhere fail and flail as miserably as they have been, They have nowhere else to direct their rage. It's like the wife beater that gets insulted down at the local boys club and doesn't have a spine, so he comes home and beats up his wife. This is what these global infantile psychopaths do: is they come back when it doesn't work elsewhere. They've still got to feed the beast, so it gets turned inwards.
Mm.
And these guys will never let a good crisis go to waste. That is the Stasi, communist, fascist. They all do it. It's all the same thing to them. So this is why we've got Canada in Canada here. I'm going to pull this one up here in just a second to give everybody to give you a chance to share your thoughts on this one. But so we've got all this going on. We've got the financial uncertainty that's now rocked the world. We've got the Middle East stepping in on the EU, saying if you do a couple of these things that you're talking about doing, we'll pull all of our investment out of the EU. So they neutered the war effort in Ukraine, in France, in England. And so these are the things out there that are impacting what we're seeing here in our country, in our news cycles, but they're not talking about the cause and effect of some of these things. So this is where we're really at that important part where the state is going to, usher their final order. Do not believe your lying eyes. And it's going to come from somebody like this, right? Um, this, to me, when we get
This. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
maybe I'll pull up this one here instead. It's got a picture of her, but you know what I'm talking about here. We've got a new chief of police, new military commander, a DEI hire, and a sycophant in the police department, and the you got Larry Brock literally calling out Randy Brasseau. The whole house of cards is coming apart at the seams, and we're watching the biggest event in history going on right now.
We're living through history, man.
We are living through history, but the point that I'm getting at is, as much as we're all polarized on the attempt on Trump, now we've got the financial security. It's rocked everybody to their core, and by this I mean John Q. Public. The globalists knew this was coming. They set it up. This is part of that manufactured destabilizations of our nations. How is this going to impact the markets moving forward? And the reason I'm asking this is because the reason Orban is in such trouble right now, and he's if there's he is one of the top two candidates on the planet next to Trump for what they tried on Trump, if you ask me, simply because is that must be, sorry about that background noise. He's doing what none of the globalists will allow. They can no longer even tolerate it, and already in a week they've gone to remove him from the head, the commission. What do you call it at the
European Parliament?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the guy governing the European Parliament on behalf
of it right now.
Yeah, so they're canceling that on him. They're trying to revoke.
Are they actually canceling it? Because they were talking about doing it. They're actually doing it.
And now they're pushing to revoke Hungary from the EU.
Specifically because he wants peace. Just so everybody knows that.
Exactly, right?
Absolute absurdity of these people, man.
Yeah, they've placed sanctions on Hungary now.
Wow.
But at the meantime, the EU and the Saudi princes are going, no, Poland, you're not getting involved in shooting down stuff and escalating this. Yeah, no, Mr. Globalist UK, you're not sending medium-range missiles to Ukraine. No, Mr. Macron, Napoleon 2.0, you're not seizing Russia's assets, and they're all backtracking. And then And then you have JD Vance telling the world that they are going to cut off Germany's energy and money and subsistence and universal basic income for all of the European unions and make them find their own energy to wage war against Ukraine. So now this is the Patriot Alliance of Europe is expanding and exploding. People are picking the side of history that they're going to be on, and this is going to be the roller coaster ride in the record books of humanity over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
What's going on from last week to this week, and what do you see coming for next week? And do you have some numbers for us from what gold and whatnot has been doing, and the dollar, interest rates, financial, or the housing market? Everywhere I see, I'm scared to open an article.
Yeah, I was going to do a deep dive in that and kind of amalgamate a whole bunch of that information today. But like I said, the Trump assassination happened, and I didn't focus on that this week. So I'll have that ready for next week. So I can give you kind of an overview, and then I want to touch on some of the things that you said. So gold and silver is actually down today. Gold hit an all-time high the other day of 2484, I think. So we're pretty close to 2500, which is historic. So there is that. But silver's back under $30 an ounce. So that's pretty significant as well. So if you were holding off on buying silver, now's a great time. But in regards to a bunch of the other stuff you said, I think that everybody has to really understand this, because this is really important. The battle of civilizations that we're now in is everywhere. Somebody mentioned in the chat that, what I was saying before, I can run. There is nowhere that you can run away from this. Nowhere. This battle is for your freedom, is for your survival, it's for your family, it's for our future, it's for everything. This is an all-in game that everybody is in. If you don't know and you're not playing, you lose, because somebody's going to come and take your shit, because that's the plan, right? When I say that somebody's coming to kill you, I'm not exaggerating and I'm not being hyperbolic. These lunatics, the communists and the WEF and all the oligarchs and all the other idiots running the show, they have told us repeatedly and often exactly what their plan is, and they have been moving forward with that policy relentlessly. The only thing that stops those people is stopping them. That's it. There's nowhere to run, and you're if you do run, you're basically hoping that everybody else around you does that for you. It's not a very good plan. So I highly suggest that you prepare for what is going to be very tough times. And what I mean by the battle of civilizations, right, is that we have two groups of people. Essentially, our planet is being chopped in half, more or less, into the Western oligarchy and the Eastern authoritarians, right? We have the illusion of democracy on our side, right? But we have at least the ideals and the people that care about those ideals. Most people on the Eastern authoritarian side are either A, the authoritarians and sycophants to them, or B, just trying to survive and leave me out of it, right? But they don't have the power or the organization or the ability or the impetus or the sense of soul, fire, God, whatever you want to call it, to say, I care about my family and I'm going to fight for it. There's lots of revolutions that are happening in the East. And I should note, too, that China's economy is absolutely in free fall right now. And that there's people that can't get their money out. They're locking down banks. Like China is in free fall right now. And at some point, I think they're going to start revolting, even though they don't have any guns. And a lot of people are going to die because they're getting to the point where they can't feed their family. And when people get to the point, and this is why I always talk about food to everybody that will listen, if you get to the point and somebody else in your community gets to the point where they don't have any food, there's only two choices. I'm going to go find some from somebody else or die. And most people are not going to make that second choice without fighting first. And so you have to have the ability to protect yourself regardless of whatever anybody else is doing, right? And so I think the most important thing about everything that is happening now is there is no way to avoid it. You can only prepare for it and try to work for what's best for us. That means, like, collectively the West and the world and the greater good and all that good jazz. Or just get out of it and, get out and prepare yourself for what's coming. But you will not be able to avoid this, because what this Microsoft thing showed today is that everything is so fragile. Like, what if this was a pipeline? Like, we have like two pipelines that supply all of our fuel for BC. I'm in BC, right? If that goes, nothing moves. Like, it's screwed. We're screwed, right? And so our redundancies for all of these very important systems, like our the internet or the power or water, or all of these different systems that keep us in a modern state of civilization, they're very fragile, right? And only your ability to manage and to keep your family alive and protected is stopping all of that bad stuff from happening should those systems go down.
Well, and it's going to come time where I've been saying this so long that it sounds redundant already, but it's the most important in the world to understand that localism is the only
exactly.
cure for globalism, and we're going to
Yeah.
really soon be thrown back into, depending on what we can source locally, and so I'm going to hit a bunch of the comments here, and we're going to touch on some of that, but we'll get to it here, I'm sure, in the comments. But what do you make of Jolie then in China?
Oh yeah,
Butt
traitor.
kissing over there
I
right
don't
now,
have
and
any
lying
problem.
about her itinerary on that.
The fact that our government still actively works with the Chinese Communist Party on any level beyond we're sending trade back and forth is in my mind treason, because this group of people not only has tried to attack our elections, people in our country have set up police stations here, have undermined our country, stolen our resources, innumerable things. But what's worse than all of those things, right, is that they're trying to impose their garbage ideology, which is communism, authoritarian communism, but communism nonetheless, on us, when in their own country, they harvest the organs at an industrial scale of their own citizens. That
Well, we
is
do that
the
here
most.
already too, though.
This is why I hate them, because it's absolute bullshit, bro. In no world would any caring, conscious person be like, yeah, the people that harvest organs from political dissidents, let's do business, bro. But we've been doing that for decades. It's appalling. And the fact that they still even defend Guilbeault going out there, Jolie now, Trudeau's been over there. Screw all of them, man. I cannot stand the amount of disingenuous lying that these people do to protect what is essentially, I want more money. And I'm
Well,
trying to put these
I
goals.
think that's what's going on. I think China is calling in some chips on their investment in Canada, and
Yeah.
she was sent over there to try.
Even more reason to get those idiots out of there.
There's lots of that, but I think that's the underlying current of what they've got going on over there. So now I'm going to hit some of these comments here. Brenda, what's happening? They don't want us to notice. I think what we're misreading is the buzzard bug, this avian flu. I don't think that this is intended to try and coerce us into getting stuck again. I think that this is intended to destroy the food supply system. We can live forever on eggs because then we've got bread and we've got everything else. This is about destroying the food supply system. No, Putin didn't do it. Definitely not. Putin did not do it.
They are trying to connect it to Iran, though, which is retarded.
Yes, which is an absolute absurdity to me, because if it was actually Iran, they've got several million people that would be very angry that they didn't get their chance to commit this act of jihad to get their 72 virgins. So there's no way that Iran would use a young gender confused punk like that that kid was. So yeah, no, dump the Iran theory, guys. Yes, I think that I don't know about Gavin Newsom. The scuttlebutt that I've gotten is that Kamala is interviewing her VPs. Might that be Newsom to run on the ticket against Mr. Trump? I don't know, but if they think that they can chart a path to victory with some sort of absurdity, they might give it a go. I don't think it'll work very well, though.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, I think so they can't give the money that they've collected already to anybody else but Kamala. So like logistically, it makes no sense to put anybody else but Kamala in there for now. And what I think they're going to do personally is that like Biden's going to say he's not going to run, but he'll stay in for the rest of, because he's a meat puppet that they already control. So why bother switching him out now, even though he's barely there anyway? Like, who cares about that? Because Kamala is basically the same meat puppet nonsense. So that's not really a big change for them, other than everybody hates Kamala. But what they do want to do, I think, is have an open convention on August 19th. And so they're probably prepping whatever their plan to replace Biden is. They're working on it right now, because they didn't see this come. They still wanted Joe Biden to be in there for another 4 years until that debate. That's how much of a moronic, lying. Oh, it's so abysmally bad that these people. There's still people that think that Joe Biden's my guy. Like, he's such a good guy. Like, he's literally a dementia patient that can't put words together. And they wanted him in for another 4 years. Like, that's so. It's so.
He was healthy enough. He was healthy enough to, except his brain.
Yeah, it's insane.
Right?
These people are insane.
England and Ireland are also on fire.
Ireland got lit up last night too? I thought it was just in Leeds.
Oh no! Ireland has been. It's been a couple of days now in Ireland.
They're
it's
pissed.
absolutely insane what's going on there. None of that is going to go away anytime soon. And the meat puppets there have no ability to dialogue their way out of anything.
I'm actually quite surprised that the IRA hasn't resurfaced with all this stuff happening.
Be careful what we question. The Coots guys, that's another atrocity. That's our government, fabricating
political persecution.
Straight up 100% political persecution. We are the new Weimar. I did a bit of a watch party on a show the other night where it was comparing the parallels between where we are now and pre World War II, the Weimar Republic, and it's incredibly.
We're right on schedule.
Incredibly disturbing. I encourage people to go back and watch that. So they never realized the whole programming would do. Of course, people won't support war anymore. They took the boys and turned them into girls. It's too many. Yeah, our militaries have basically been neutered, and we have no capacity to defend our nation anymore. And now we are going to basically be the laughingstock of the multipolar world. If I remember, Turkey wants nothing to do with NATO, either regarding Ukraine, and they have the largest army within Europe. Absolutely,
no, they're third in Europe, so Poland's second.
They're in Eurasia. They've got, I think, one of the largest standing armies.
They're also fairly incompetent and not very well trained. So I mean, that doesn't.
At the end of the day, they control the access to the Black Sea, and they are not. They are not a fan of being a NATO proxy in World War III as well. And Erdogan has gone to great lengths, not as far as Orban, but he has been making sure that Turkey fares better out of this should it go sideways than others. So it needs to be noted too that Erdogan is one of the Eastern authoritarians that I was talking about. He's been in power for like 20 years, 15 years or something like that, and he's a douchebag. Like his people do not like him, and he is not good at running the country. He is just a strong man with a lot of power, and he took power and he is keeping it. So not here for a popularity contest. We're looking at where are the biggest fires right now. Mr. Carnival himself is I'm
gonna use that Twitchy fucking idiot.
Somebody played last night that I don't remember the terminology that they used her, but something like pint-sized Care Bear or something. She's earning quite a few monikers.
And like I saw something cute yesterday about Carney, that there was some poll that was done that only 3% of Canadians actually know who that guy is. I laughed at that so hard. 7%. Yeah, that's right. I laughed at that so hard. I'm like, you idiots think that guy is going to bring in all of those. Oh, we just have to change the message and get Carney in here. He'll fix it all up. No problem. And this is the internet age, bro. Like, all we have to do is look. Like, who is this idiot? Oh, he screwed up a whole bunch of other countries too. And now he's coming back to screw up ours. Get out of here, man. Like, these people are just, it's beyond belief, man.
just being in the royal box for Wimbledon doesn't earn him any brownie points here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's
Ali Sapper, Mexico not part of NATO and does not want to further that point. Not only do they not want any part of these kind of reindeer games, but there's an active Russian military fleet 60 miles from the south coast of the United States and Cuba, just hanging around, playing soldier games with the Cubans, and Mexico's just going do 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 do
Well,
do.
Mexico is actually a lot more important than I think people give it credit for two main reasons. Number one is the Mexicans and Mexico specifically has the strongest, second strongest. I think it's second strongest demographics of anywhere in the world. I think India is number one because they're the only people that actually has a proper demographics pyramid. But Mexico is fairly well, and in NAFTA, like in North America, they have the people that are actually going to do a lot of the manufacturing that is leaving China. So there's a massive amounts of investment that's happening in Mexico now. There's a lot of opportunity there now if you're the investor type that does international types of stuff. And the reason that that's really important is that if localization is the key to globalization, well, there's three countries on North America, right? And for better or for worse, we're together because we're geographically in the same spot. And we're really lucky in Canada that we have the most resources of literally anywhere in the planet by per capita and just what we have available. And we're not using it because we're run by retards. Putting that aside for a second, but if those resources were to be used with all of the people in North America and all of the technology that we have, we'd be fine. Like all of the rest of the world would absolutely collapse with all the stupid nonsense that's coming. We'd be fine.
I think it's an arguable discussion because I'm sure that there's a lot of people sitting in Mexico eating fruit right off of their trees going, yeah, no, I think we're luckier down here because we don't have to care about any of those reindeer games, regardless of wealth. That just makes you the target and not me, the guy in central Mexico or on the coast of Mexico eating his fish and tamales and eating their fresh vegetables. So this is why we're seeing such an exodus there, because people can live without being destroyed by the system. They are no longer the target of their own system.
Well, the caveat to that is they're still run by the cartel. So
true story. But the cartel might be easier to deal with than the government. Right?
Yeah,
there's arguments to be made. There's arguments to be made, but at the end of the day, it's because it just keeps going on out here. I wanted to touch on this one here from Carly because I think I can maybe reframe this just a little bit, and so much of this is about how we interpret things, and it's been less of a wealth transfer. Wealth transfer is what the fancy pants use. The reality is it is a wealth extraction. It's no transfer. They are just taking everything with the intent to destabilize and destroy. You're absolutely right about destroying the a middle class, but they make it sound like a transfer comes back to being reinvested, kind of like the carbon tax garbage and nonsense with that. And they have no intention on giving any of it back. They plan on outliving us and starving us into compliance. That's just what they do. Kamala is cried, as I said. I think the scuttlebutt is she's interviewing vice presidential nominees, and we'll see something before long.
And kind of on that point, I think it goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. But basically, in anything that you do in life, right? Anything that happens, any action that you take, is either one of two things. By consent or by force. Either you decide that you do it or somebody forces you to do it in some way, shape, or form. That could be, you could be forced to do it without you even knowing it. That's kind of what propaganda is for, right? But ultimately, you're either making an intentional choice or somebody's forcing you to do it, right? And so the things that are happening in regards to the economy, they are pushing us to the point that we are going to be forced into a course of action that is against our benefit. And that the ultimate result of that is not only is the middle class going to be destroyed, but all classes other than the top of the classes are going to be destroyed because they want the cool kid crew and everybody else. And with the technology that we have and the way that things are being organized, we haven't even talked about AI for a while, but that's a whole other can of worms. But what this will ultimately fall on is that there's going to be people in control and people being controlled. So if you want to be a free citizen, you better fight for it.
Well, in that chat I was in this afternoon, it was a really powerhouse chat. There was somebody in there describing the transition and what that would look from financials. A European financial guy from the UK actually was talking about that, and he says it'll take a week. From the time they collapse the currency to they're offering US CBDC on a universal basic income and reboot the economy will take them 1 week. And it was kind of really disturbing to hear it described and laid out what the process that they've already established for
Yeah.
this. And I hate to be negative or facetious in any way, but or over dramatic, and nobody's got a timeline or a date. But at the rate we're going, he says, if the cabal keeps getting desperate, this is what they do. This, if we keep winning, they're going to keep going to these wells like they did today on this Friday, and we don't know when they're going to pull a pin on that. And then we've got a week to survive to decide: are we going to try to outlast them until they die, wither and die, and recreate our nations as we want? Where nobody's going to be here to help us, it's except for them offering that carrot of you can survive if you accept and sign your name on the dotted line with this.
Yeah, and kind of the reason that BRICS is even a thing right now is because the TPP failed, right? Trump was the one that got rid of the TPP, and the reason that he got rid of it, one of the reasons anyway, is because it would have given essentially an extra. How do I put this? It would have given a process for corporations to sue sovereign states that they couldn't fight against for lost profits because of policies. So let's say that I implemented a policy in Canada and some country on the other side of the planet lost money because of that. If they were part of the TPP, they could sue Canada and we would have to pay their ass for profits they didn't get, even though they never put a dime into it. So it gave this unbelievably oversized power to corporations for no particular reason. Trump was like, get bent with that. And so they took that basically and they're like, oh yeah, well, I guess we'll do something else then. Right. And so like they have contingency plans for everything. Right. So the most evil that you can think of in the world is nowhere near what we actually face, right? And to deal with something on that level, there is only one thing that you can do, which is organize with people in your physical reality, people that are physically here. And the more you can organize on your level, the more you can work with other people that are organized, the more you can deal with. But if you don't have that base level ability to organize with people around you, we fucked.
100%. A couple more comments here. John Deere just came back to their senses when they realized how much it was going to cost them.
Yep.
So that was good news. I hope it's not too little too late. Ali's
But
paper.
that's an example of us getting together and being like, "Yo, these guys are idiots. Don't give them your money. Wherever you choose to put your money is a choice that you make. Put it somewhere where it's not people that hate your guts."
100%. They're buying time. Absolutely.
It is.
It's the resources they want. 100% on point there. Ali's dad. We have the lowest populace to resist against them for the greatest booty. This
Yeah.
is why Canada is their shining star, and Trudeau tends to be, the most profitable pirate in the first post nation state.
That guy's got to get audited, bro. He's got. If he was audited, bro, if we audited Justin Trudeau, we would know every piece of bullshit that he's done in the last 9 years because there's a paper trail of every single dollar he's stolen from Canada. Screw
we
that
we've
guy.
been we've been taking some hard looks at Deloitte and McKinsey on our
Yeah.
show here in the last week, and showing and establishing the process and the money and how this is working. And this isn't just a Canadian sickness. These companies are in every country. It's these companies that are the mercenaries. Trudeau's got a problem. McKinsey comes in and gives them the plan. Doesn't care what the body count is. They just give them a plan. They show
Oh,
them the path to the money.
did you see Ancestry that came out this week?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so I have a meme for it somewhere, but I'll just give everybody the overview. So Ancestry.com, which is basically, figure out your ancestry and blah, blah, blah. That was bought by Blackstone in 2020. They just finalized it this week, I think. And that was bought for $4.7 billion. So my question that I put on Facebook is, who owns your DNA? Well, it ain't you. It ain't you anymore because your DNA is in your body, but now it's in somebody else's database that somebody else controls. They bought it, so it's their property. They own your DNA. What are they going to do with that? What could they do with that? Well, we don't know. We have no idea. But they have your DNA. If you took Ancestry.com, right? There's lots of people that dead, but now their DNA is in private hands and private ownership. That is insane. And personally, what I think they're going to do with that is connect that to your digital ID. Your DNA will be your digital ID. And once they do that and they roll that out, if you don't get into the system, you don't get to play within the system, which
It's
means
for
that
your
they can
safety.
delete you from it.
It's for your safety. Come on now,
Yeah.
right? That's at the end of the day. That's how every they get the population. They terrify them, terrorize them, and then offer them safety. That's that wash, rinse, repeat cycle, problem, reaction, solution that they've used to govern us for hundreds and hundreds of years now. And the
Thousands.
problem that they've got is that with the balance of technology and power, two opposing militaries. So long as one is stronger, he's always going to be aggressive to the other until they get to equal size. And then when they realize that they're both going to be mutually assured destruction, then they don't want to fight and they want to play anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
when we can start to understand that this is actually war. It's unrestricted warfare. It's not storming the beaches of Normandy. We are eyeballs deep. You are either going to be a participant in the victory or an accessory in the defeat of humanity at this level,
Yep.
and start approaching it from that level of discipline and understanding. Then the faster we can get to that. And this is what encourages me about the international conversations. And I'm hopeful, when I'm talking to people over in these European countries where they're getting it, they're organizing against it. They've had to fight for their nations before. They understand what's at stake and what's involved, and this is why the Patriot Alliance in Europe is growing faster than any political campaign in recorded history. It's because it's based on what the people want, and the
Yep.
people are realizing that whether you want to or not, you are going to be a participant in the next crusades, which is literally what's upon us.
Yep.
People want to talk about, they want to accuse me of being Islamophobic or anti-Muslim or any of those things. No, 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 no. I am not. But I am also a Christian Canadian, and whether you are or not, this is what Canada is built on. And if you can't live by those rules, then you need to get out.
Yep.
And every nation is having that battle right now. So we are
Battle of
literally
civilizations.
it is literally the battle of the civilizations right now. So we can choose to do this through diplomacy and tactical civics, and approaching it from a level-headed manner, or we can get lost in the rage porn and the emotional outbursts and all of those kinds of things, which feeds into exactly what they want for that destabilization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited about what I see happening in Europe, and starting to grow there, because they're realizing, if we go to a static conflict with these people, we're going to lose. We have to do this through the will of the people themselves, and that is what Orban is. Like him or not, and doing the deep dive on him, his country has taken money from in the past from the likes of George Soros as well.
Where George
Um,
Soros is from.
Right? Exactly. So, for this man to understand the raw battle, I think of where we're at, and throw
He's a smart
his,
guy. I like Victor
his
Orban.
I do too. I do too, very much, in that respect. And he's not going to lie to people about it, right?
No, I think he literally is a leader for his people and what he feels
Exactly.
is necessary for his people to survive. And say what you want about the guy's policies and all the other stuff, you have to respect at least that, because that's pretty rare in my estimation. And I'll make another point too, is that I think that the battle of civilizations that you were just mentioning, right? I'm not religious at all, but I don't care what person, color, sex, religion. I don't care what you are. I care what you say and what your actions are going to do and what results you're advocating for. And anybody that's advocating for like them, like Canada becoming Muslim, like the KFC happening in halal. That is absolute bullshit. I don't care what your religion is, but we don't succumb or submit to any religion, right? I'm an atheist, right? And I've said this multiple times before. I don't have any problems with anybody being God-fearing. Doesn't matter to me. It's all good. We're all human, right? But what I do have a problem with is that people come and say, hey, my religion says this. You got to do what my religion says. Get bent. No, absolutely not. Like, sorry, my cat.
Yeah, yeah. There's different sets of rules. That's the future, and I think people are figuring it out quicker and quicker every single day.
Yeah.
And not trying to be negative, but we can protect ourselves now, or we can fight for survival later. And I choose to prefer now. So at this point, we have to start figuring out. And again, this comes down to the conversation that I was having last week, figuring out what does freedom mean to us and what are we fighting for. Pierre is not going to save us from any of the things that we've just described here tonight. He would have had no bearing on anything that we've discussed tonight in the real world of things.
Well, that's why I joined the Conservative Party, so I could put that pressure on from inside. maybe I'm wrong, but hey.
We have to.
My point exactly. You have to try, otherwise it is on us. The reason that we're in this position at all is because we gave up our civic duties to somebody else, and we voted somebody in. Said I did my one vote every 4 years. Cross my fingers, hope they work out, and they didn't work out. Well, I guess we'll try next time. Fuck that, bro. We have to be part of the system, not being governed by the system. The government is supposed to be of, by, and for the people. If it's not, replace them.
Well, and this is the part that I don't think Orban woke up one day and just decided, I'm going to start a Patriot Alliance of Europe and I'm going to make world peace. No. He was pushed by his people to, and if he is going to truly serve his people, this was what needed to be done. On the greater scheme of things, he's sitting in the middle of where the fallout zone would be if this Ukraine-Russian nonsense continues and escalates. And it is not only the best interest of the world, it's definitely not in the best interest of his people. So he was forced to step up and represent his people, to serve his people. And right now here in Canada, and I mean right this minute in Canada, is where we have to force that upon our leaders. Pierre doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to take these fights on, and he won't if we don't force him to. And these things are the things that are going to matter moving forward, with that we have to find our collective why and narrow it down to one or two things and bring our whole dang country together. We can go back to squabbling later. We can pick on each other and call each other names and all of those things later. But if we don't get a grip on this right here, right now, before he gets elected, then we again deserve exactly what we get.
Yeah, and I think one of the major things that is part of that, and I did part of my presentation was actually on this. Where did I put it? It's not pulled up right now.
Pull up a couple of comments here. Trudeau would fall under RICO if that the U.S. has. Yeah, and then that's only going to matter if Trump decides to do something with it, or how badly Trudeau pisses him off. Yeah, Deloitte answered the government phone number. Wow, that's disturbing. In 2019 or 2016 already. Canterbury.
Yeah, exactly. What was it?
Soros has taken over, and he's the thing about generational wealth is invariably, and I mean every single time, you get a Hunter Biden sooner or later. And when it comes to George Soros and Alex Soros, Alex is George's Hunter.
Oh, I didn't put it in this. I didn't put it in this presentation. Well, so I think the two things that are really important right now, because we have a bunch of elections coming up and we have to prepare for our elections too. Because if we're actually going to, vote this idiot out and get rid of these people, they have to be replaced with somebody. And I want not just a replacement of the red team with the blue team. That's not good enough, right? We have to go further than that. our system is broken, proven by the moronic, stupid shit that Trudeau has done to our country and all the other stuff that's been happening for decades before that, right? We are not being represented by the people. One of the core reasons for that is that the accountability that should come when one of these scandals, one of the infinite number of scandals happens, there's no mechanism, no process to remove people that break the law and go beyond what they're supposed to be doing. All of the corruption that Larry Brock has been showing in Parliament or committee and stuff like that, I like that guy. I think he's legitimately a good Canadian, and one of the few, I should add. But where are the consequences? Every single time he posts something, when Michael, what's his face, or Barrett posts something, Cooper, anytime they post any stuff, I'm like, where are the corruption charges? This is textbook corruption, right? There has to be a mechanism for justice, and justice is supposed to be equally dispersed between everybody within a society, regardless of who you are. Nobody is above the law. Do we have that? Absolutely not. Right. And so that has to be changed. And for that to change, we have to have a mechanism that if my constituency says this guy's messing around and stealing my shit, he's out of here. We're having a snap election. You don't get to choose when you give us a chance to remove you. That is insane that is how our system works. That has to be changed. And so what those two things are is one voice, one vote, for one citizen is the only people that vote in an election. Citizens are the only people that vote in that country's elections. All of these illegal people and all these people that just came here last year, you don't get to vote, bro. What are you talking about? You don't get to come from another country. You have no idea what Canada's about. You just got here and be like, I'm going to vote for the socialists and the communists. Get out of here, bro. Ain't happening. And second is that once we get, I'll just finish this. So once we fix that, you have to be able to, we, like you as in all of us, we have to have the ability to remove your ass if you screw around. No more of this, I have to wait until next year when Trudeau would lose today after all of these scandals and corruption and insane nonsense. I'm over it, man. I'm absolutely over it, bro.
Well, you and most of the rest of us, I think, but this one of the last comments here. 20% of the colonists rebelled against the tyrant British monarchy to create the U.S. Well, Canada didn't, so we still have that tyrant monarchy in essence, but through the illusion of the democracy. And the funny part of that is they did that over a 3% tax hike on tea. That was what started that, and ultimately ended up with them holding constitutional conventions and deciding that America should be a constitutional republic, which none of that Canadians have ever wanted to bother with.
We should have that discussion, actually. I'm sick of this shit.
I agree. We absolutely should have that discussion. They defer to the useless. They're not even useless. They're doing exactly what their bosses tell them to do. They are good employees. They're good employees. They're not our employees. They're somebody else's employees, and they're doing a very good job of protecting them. So, yeah.
You bring up Canterbury's comment as well. I think that's an important one. Yeah, that one. So, so treason is still in the Constitution, not the Constitution, the Criminal Code, which is Section 46C, and it specifies in that code exactly what is treason. And personally, I think that there's lots of people in our government that have qualified for that designation. But Trudeau Senior actually took out sedition and some other thing from the criminal constitution. So they've been subverting. Sorry,
capital punishment.
Oh, is that what? Yeah, sedition and yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sedition and capital punishment from the criminal code.
Yeah, we covered that in a show last week as well. Again, by definition, treason and foreign meddling and foreign interference. Basically, all 338 are guilty of it, and uncountable numbers from there on down through the political class. So there needs to be a major overhaul on that. So absolutely. Well, it's been an adventure again, right around the world on the Dragon's Tail from 50,000 feet. Mr. Wade, thank you, and look forward to hearing some interesting discussion again next week.
It'll be nuts, man. And so next week I'll do a little bit of a deep dive. It'll probably be like a 10-20 minute presentation or something about all the different threads of things that are happening from the economy side. And so we'll do that next week.
Yeah, sounds good. And people were asking, so I threw it down in the show notes wherever you're tuned in from. Bryce's X handle. He's on X as well, so you can find that.
I post relentlessly on there.
So if you want to know how Bryce really feels, just go into the show description and get a hold of him. Follow him on X, and you'll get it right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
So,
and DMs are open, so if you want to message me on there, you can.
excellent. All right, thank you, sir. We'll chat again next week. All right, guys, that was another drink from the fire hose. Ordinarily, I would, most of the rest of the week, I talk about one of my other sponsors. I'm going to play the video from New World Precious Metals. You guys can contact them from my website at whatsupcanada.org. But I wanted to make a point to address that comment earlier about John Deere and how they changed their minds. And that is the principle behind that, how the farmers forced John Deere to change their mind. That's exactly what we do at Patriot Switch. And I really, really encourage people to reach out to me and ask me questions if you have concerns, or if somebody's told you it was a bad thing. Let's talk about it. I really want to talk about it. I think that that's a very underutilized weapon in our arsenal, and something that we can absolutely make a far, far bigger impact against the cabal with working together on. So on that note, we will see you again Monday, same time, same place. Make sure that you are liked, subscribed, and get plugged into the Substack. There's a link down below there, guys. That's where all the receipts, all of the links, all of the documents, the slides, if we use them, everything that we use in a show comes out usually the next morning on the Substack, so you guys can be armed moving forward. It's free over there. You can choose a paid subscription. I think it's about $8 a month, so it works out to like 50 cents a show if you want to help us stay free for everybody out there. And I encourage you to support your favorite journalist, whoever that is, wherever they are, that is taking on the establishment and the propaganda machine by themselves, with absolute bravery in this day and age. And if this is the platform that you choose to help and support, it's with extreme gratitude that you can send us a donation at donate@whatsupcanada.org. All right, well, that's all of the maintenance covered, so we will see you next week. I might have an interesting guest or two next week. Maybe we'll hear from somebody that was at the Butler event with Mr. Trump. We'll see how it goes, but we'll see you on Monday.
In times of global instability, soaring inflation and massive debt, gold and silver have proven to be unshakable pillars of wealth. New World Precious Metals, based in Calgary, Canada, is a leading international brokerage. We offer an easy, secure and cost-effective platform for investing in gold and silver, including our international wholesale program and registered retirement savings accounts. Protect your money outside traditional banking with our physical precious metals, privately vaulted outside the banking system at secure, insured exchanges worldwide. Gold and silver have been trusted assets for generations, with current projections indicating high returns. And with unprecedented demand from governments, banks, and investors, there are now shortages. Precious metals thrive during inflation, geopolitical instability, and currency devaluation. Sound familiar? Now is the time to invest in gold and silver, whether in your international investment account or by transferring registered retirement savings accounts. Experience the security of physical precious metals, combining the safety of physical assets with the flexibility of being like your own bank, offering instant liquidity and a financed line of credit. With precious metals on the rise, don't miss this generational opportunity to protect your wealth. At New World Precious Metals, we ensure your wealth meets its potential. Contact us today and our personal brokers will guide you every step of the way.